Okay, folks, we know that when the Band-Aid comes off, the truth comes out. I did a video myself on remembering the Holocaust for 2016, but here's a book, a little pamphlet. You can see there's actually some information in the back that's not about confronting the Holocaust, but here is Confronting the Holocaust by Rabbi Benjamin Ze'ev Kahane. Now, Rabbi Benjamin Ze'ev Kahane, was the son of Rabbi Meir David Kahane. Rabbi Kahane, of course, is the founder of the JDL, murdered in New York in 1990, and Binyamin Ze'ev and his wife Talia murdered together, buried together in Jerusalem, but they were murdered on the road back from Jerusalem to where they live in Kfar Tepuach. So I'm going to read the introduction a little forward, and I'm going to just read through this Confronting the Holocaust, because it might be hard for you all to get. We'd like, of course, to get more copies out, and if you want to send me a message through YouTube or whatever the case may be, streetjew1 at gmail.com, streetjew1 at gmail.com. That also will get information out, and we can get these books, I guess, reprinted and get them out if you like, if somebody likes. Okay, so the forward. So this new edition of Binyamin Ze'ev Kahane, Confronting the Holocaust, which was originally released in dedication of the first yahrzeit of Binyamin Ze'ev Kahane, of course, and his wife Talia. It doesn't say that there, but of course Talia as well. May their blood be avenged. It is a dictation of a shiur he gave on December 1999, the 10th of Tevet, Teves. This is a fast day for us, a half-day fast, on the subject of the Holocaust. The shiur was given in the center of the Jewish idea, a small 3-room office on Jaffa Street, which was eventually closed down by the Israeli authorities. But before the decision by the police to close down the center, they confiscated all the cassette tapes of the shiurim that we had recorded and collected to this date. The cassettes and most of the shiurim remained in their hands. The government of Israel still has the shiurim, the cassette tapes, the information of Binyamin Ze'ev Kahane. So we can see even now, I'm doing this video January of 2016, how now his nephew, Rabbi Kahane's grandson, Meir David Kahane, is now being, of course, persecuted. That's Meir David Ettinger, and we demand his immediate release, as well as Eviatar Shlonim and all the righteous Jews, thought criminals that believe in a Torah-based government and a Torah state and a Jewish state. So they confiscated the cassettes, and it still remains in their hands. The tape of this particular shiur was recorded privately by someone who attended the shiur, and thank God, Am Yisrael can merit to learn in the authentic Jewish idea regarding the topic of the Holocaust. You can't take the truth. You could try to subvert the truth, but it comes out. Since this pamphlet is a dictation and translation of Binyamin Kahane's spoken words, it does not read like a written article. Therefore, in places where the reader may have difficulty understanding the flow of thought, comments in italics and parentheses have been made for added clarification. In addition, we have included in this booklet excerpts from an article by Rabbi Meir Kahane on the Holocaust, which complements the shiur and further clarifies the subject. We also enclose various material connected to the raiding and subsequent closing of the center of the Jewish idea and the latest harassments of Binyamin Ze'ev Kahane. May his blood be avenged. Finally, we enclose an article by Rabbi Meir Kahane of blessed memory relating to some of the harassments he endured. And this that forward was written by Lenny Goldberg in Teves of 5765. It is now 5776. So we're talking about 11 years ago. This forward was written. I'm just going to jump into it rather than cutting the video. On the Holocaust and Emunah, a shiur given by Rabbi Benjamin Ze'ev Kahane on the 10th of Teves, and that is 5760. So that was even 5 years before this forward and this edition came out. Okay, the 10th of Tevet was set down originally as a holiday to commemorate the destruction of the first temple, but in latter generations it evolved into a day to commemorate the Holocaust as well. And so I wanted to speak about the Holocaust today. So you see here, beyond our comprehension. Okay? Today, it is accepted in most religious circles to say that the Holocaust is something we cannot understand. When it comes to explaining the Holocaust or giving a reason for it, the usual response is, there is no reason! It is possible to say such a thing? There's no reason? Why would religious Jews say such a thing? Because we have all been brought up on Holocaust stories, if one can define it in such a way, books, stories from Holocaust survivors. Because of the stories, it is all very concrete for us. We are hearing it from the source. We hear firsthand what happened there. And each story never ceases to shock us. And this causes people to ask, what is the reason? After all, we want explanations concerning the smallest things. And all the more for this, something so significant, so horrible. And what answers do we get? Look, it is so awesome, so terrible, so shocking. It is a question no one can answer. What is the prevalent view regarding the Holocaust? That is, if it didn't happen because of sins, then why did it happen? And then in italics here, we don't know. It's something beyond our understanding. It's forbidden for us even to deal with such a question. It's forbidden for us, asur. This is the standard response to the question of why 6 million Jews, including 1.5 million children, were murdered. Genocide. I added that. We cannot understand. It is beyond human. We cannot understand. It is beyond human comprehension. Next. Reason for evasion. Idealization of European Jewry. Part of the reason people evade dealing with the reasons for the Holocaust, that is, part of the reason, it isn't said that what is usually said in Judaism, that there were sins, and therefore there was punishment. Part of the reason is that there is a need to paint a picture of Poland Jewry as some kind of perfect world. There are entire religious camps that exist today which are built upon the idealization of Poland Jewry. That is, everyone was righteous. Stories from that period full of splendor, spiritual loftiness, are what we would expect to read about during the era of the Holy Temple. Such are the descriptions of the situation there, descriptions that are almost cut off from reality. This is part of the reason not to analyze the Holocaust, because of the need to believe in this ideal conception. The fact that entire religious camps are built around the aspiration and nostalgia to be like it was then, and then, when it all ended in such a horrible way, how does one explain it? By not dealing with it. If it was because of sins, then certainly the sins had to be so horrible in order to bring about such a result, and it can't be. And so it can't be. That can't be the reason, because if it is true, all that we are trying to portray and emulate and to build upon is not correct. In this shiur, I cannot cover the entire matter. Mainly, I come to negate the approach, and the editors add here, that we cannot know what caused the Holocaust. And we will not discuss the specific sins that were there. Instead, I will discuss the basic principle that there is no sin without punishment, and whoever wants to come tomorrow can hear a tape of my father of a shiur he gave in the yeshiva, which relates to the situation in Europe and the specific sins that were there. And then it's see article on page 34 of this little pamphlet they're quoting. Okay? Now here you see the next little thing. The Holocaust should strengthen our emunah and not weaken it. The approach that one cannot understand began in the following way. We saw that right after the Holocaust there began a huge crisis in faith where people stopped believing in God. Many people who once observed mitzvot stopped being religious after the Holocaust, saying that if something like this can happen, something is wrong. Either there is no God, or simply, God forbid, or simply can't come to terms with the way he runs the world. We must understand why it happened. It should not have caused people to leave the faith, but rather the very opposite. If we would take a broad, objective, Jewish look at the Holocaust, it should strengthen our faith and not weaken it. Even for those who went through it, as difficult as it may be, such a look would bring about understanding and faith that things which were said thousands of years ago actualize themselves. I will soon bring down some sources in the Bible which explicitly spoke about such a situation. If after the Holocaust and before they would have studied these sources, these prophecies, and confronted the Holocaust head on without trying to evade it, it could have enlightened us to the truth of the Bible. I would like to say the truth of the Torah. How its words were spoken and actualized in addition, it would give the real picture of Judaism a complete picture. If we would sit and read the Tochacha, look in Ezekiel, Parshat Hazenu, we would see that these were not just words that were written, but that history has certain rules and patterns which the Almighty set down contingent upon our behavior. And we would see that words written thousands of years ago came to fruition exactly as described. And so things were explained properly. It could have caused a boost in faith instead of an abandonment of it. What happened instead? They said that it's something which is impossible to understand and doesn't make sense. It's understandable why one would adopt such an approach. After someone goes through something so horrible, it's difficult to explain such a thing to him. But this is not the mercy of fools. Not of fools, but of weakness. Oh, I'm sorry. But this is the mercy of fools. Not of fools, but of weakness. It leads to cruelty. Instead of sitting the person down and saying, okay, you went through what you went through, let's try to explain it. And I'm going to say understand it. We tell him, you're right, it's something we cannot understand. You don't think about it. Don't grapple with the question. Can someone blame a Jew who survived the Holocaust for not believing in God after he was fed such an approach? After all, we say that God supervises over every little thing. He is responsible for everything. A man does not prick his finger if it was not decreed in heaven. And the editor adds Hilun 7. That's the source for that. And now we get to a Holocaust and say, don't even try to understand it. Instead of checking the Tanakh and seeing how the prophecies actualize themselves, what emunah would that bring? There is no greater vehicle for emunah than this. It is something we saw actualized in our generation. It's a no-brainer that this should be used for strengthening emunah. Okay, so I'm going to stop there on page 13 and continue on the next video into the next paragraph.